Now, guys, welcome to Crowns and Crows. We've returned for what I believe is episode
We
six,
lost track.
7, 8.
Are we in season 5 yet?
Uh,
Maybe
this is a
season
great
4?
question. I'm sorry, I got really distracted with Star Wars and forgot where I was.
But and this is Crowns and Crows, Dragon Valley here for another episode. We're back after what 3 bumpy weeks of people being away and
Hmm.
traveling and vacations and such forth. I'm at Holiday Inn Express tonight, so I will be developing all the video games because I'm sleeping here tonight. Um, so what do we got? What do we got today? Today we're going to discuss topics that come over last week. We're going to talk about the Q&A for October. Not a lot of big surprises there, so we'll iterate quickly through that. A couple interesting points for the Hunger Dome data analysis post that we had about a week ago, I think, and obviously the big information dump today about the champion um, character release. Let's do a quick rundown. As of today, Todd is really good at crouching. I never knew that. Really good at that. Tickets are basically bullshit, which we found out today. And apparently, fans don't care when my kid is sick. They want crowns and clothes. So we got an excellent fan base. I think
I
we've done
mean,
a very good job.
you know what? I think
I think
we've done well.
we have done well. We need crowns and crows. Hey, I don't care. In any case, let's go up for gosh, there was something at the top of the show I wanted to mention. My schedule has changed quite a bit. I think you've gone back down to normalcy a little bit. Lakes is obviously going to be gone for another probably like 4 or 5 weeks, I would have to imagine.
Yeah.
Um, so next week, for the sake of keeping things going, I might be dialing in via phone, not even video. I might be traveling in a car, and Valid doesn't want me with video Skyping via my cell phone. He only audio. He cares that much for me right now. So we'll figure something out. I might be back in through another hotel room again. So we'll see. Um, and it's good to be back. I haven't talked Crowfall in over a month at this point.
It's
Or
been a
maybe
minute. It's been a minute.
almost a month. It's been 4 weeks, so looking forward to get back into it. And I don't think I missed too much. I mean, toward at the end of the shutdown, there's been a lot of lore updates, a lot of
Yep.
things here and there, but nothing. Today was actually the first, I guess, the first major release of information with the new archetype, right?
I mean, I would say that you've got the data mining they provided
Yep.
some results from,
That was
and
done in the last week though, too.
that
Like data now,
was
the
yeah,
13th, a
that
week
was
ago today.
yeah, yeah. I was about to say it's like I believe it was last Tuesday,
Yep.
and so they've got some results from that, and so we can dig through that a little bit if we want, and then yeah,
The only
the
thing
champion
that's
was really the other big one because they did the lore update with the serpent queen goddess.
does it matter? Does it really matter? Does it? Does it really?
I try and be nice. I try and be nice.
Okay, you could be the nice one.
There we
You could be the
go.
nice.
Usually am.
Yeah. Well, yes, yes. We balance each other out. All right, let's. I want to go through the Q&A for October since it's
Yeah.
basically the old piece of information. October 6th is when
Yeah.
it came out, so that was 2 weeks ago. Again, not really too much new information, but I think we can kind of hit up on it really quick. First question was how will strongholds be protected against attacks when guilds that control them are offline? We already knew about Bane circles, I guess.
Hmm.
Is that what they call Bane circles?
Yeah. I
My
mean,
brain is kind
effectively.
of
Effectively. I
yeah.
mean, it's the same concept.
Basically, you set a window when you want it to be attacked, and then you set it up and you have fun.
Yep.
So that's basically it. They did have actually some talk about or mention POIs, points of interest, and how those are just out there and shit happens to them, which is kind of nice. So
Yep.
um, we always knew that they were going to be there, whatever they end up being. But it's kind of neat getting a little bit. They're fleshing it out and building it right now. So
Well, and
it's kind of nice.
I think the big piece is, you know, they made sure to differentiate the two. They wanted to make sure people
Hmm.
understood that, when you
Yep.
take a point of interest, it's not going to be like taking a keep or a castle, a stronghold, whatever. They're gonna follow
Right.
different rules, different guidelines, all of that.
Yes, exactly. Trajectories for spells and arrows will be different. Blah blah blah. Yes, they talked about the knobs to turn the place all the time. So we knew that was the case. We actually went over it in a little bit more detail during one of the first tests, talking about arc and travel paths and that type of thing. Where we had a whole big discussion about where the servers are. They've added new servers around the world. They said that there was one in Europe. I think he said Italy, and then did he say Singapore?
Singapore, yeah, that's where they had their other one.
Memory's actually working. Yes, so they're adding them. Hopefully that the latency and ping and all that stuff improved for the next test. How will campaign landscapes be generated? And I think we've talked about this quite a bit, or at least speculated on it. Basically, they're going to have a randomly generated map, but they're going to supplement that in with, like they call it, the Tetris pieces. So they actually make fun places to actually fight.
Yep.
Which is always nice. So it's going to be a combination of we actually have some cool maps there. Is there a plan to incentivize no import campaign world players interested in the world game economy? Blah blah blah. That's where the whole ticket thing is. It's basically you play to have fun. You play to win the game. That's basically it, and you get rewards or happy for them, whatever. Maybe you can trade for VIP tickets. But it was a pretty. Todd basically spoke for about 30 minutes on this answer, and it ended up being, oh yeah, by the way, there is a way we can do it. And it's the whole trading stuff if you actually really care about it. But you should be playing the game because you want to win it, you want to have fun.
Yeah.
Will disciplines be restricted to archetype? He said some of them will be, just due to animations and whether they fit or not, that type of thing. So, I mean, that we suspect, he never said all disciplines for everybody. So that's nothing new. And what will be the next design focus after combat? It's just more combat.
Yeah.
Which is excellent. That's good to know.
It's always good for a PvP game. Well, I mean, we can
yes,
we can recap some of this stuff as well. It's like what I was talking about.
Okay.
Kicking things off is making sure folks understand. Points of interest are going to be different than Stronghold's keeps. A lot of people are wanting to know: will you be able to fortify points of interest? Will you be able to, claim them, put your name on them? How far are you going to be able to go in terms of making a point of interest yours? It really seems that they intend for control of points of interest to be pretty fluid. So, it'd be interesting to know whether or not you will be able to lay traps. Nothing.
I'm sure
you're not building walls around it, but can you lay traps? Can you can you do these temporary sorts of fortifications that only last for 4 to 8 hours, and then if you really want to keep them up, you have to go right back and rebuild them or something.
I would imagine if you want to tie in crafters and builders and all that other stuff into the game, it's just not combat, you'd be able to build temporary fortifications or fortifications are easily overrun, a tower where archers can shoot from, or if you have a mine, you can build mining equipment that increases the rate of resources gained, or faster, or speed, or quality, or whatever. But I mean, these aren't what if questions, but they're good questions, and hopefully we'll get some of those details in the coming months. I don't think they're ready to talk about it.
No, definitely not. But these are the sorts of things that this is how you could make those POIs a little bit more defensible and kind of create a little bit of ownership whenever you do own them. But definitely they want to make sure that they are as fluid in ownership as possible, so that one big group doesn't just build a bunch of stuff and then you can't take it back when they're offline. So
sure, you got to have fun things to do when you're playing the game.
Exactly.
And running around with nothing to do is boring. People log off. So you want to hit up the data analysis part, which actually has some pretty good meat to it.
Yeah. Why don't you kick that off?
Did you want to touch it?
Because
Did you? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that
I can't see you.
That's true. I was just going to say that I needed to pull that up.
You want me to give you the link?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Once you drop it in chat, you should be able to.
There it is.
All right.
LinkedIn and Slack, you got it.
All right, I was
so,
going to say.
Basically, we'll go top to bottom because it makes it a little bit more easier to kind of go through, and why not? Twitch chat, everybody can follow through at home. Basically, they kind of put a whole bunch of metrics together in Crowfall. There were a couple observations that might not be completely evident or what you discussed. If you've been playing or watching the Hunger Dome, you should know that the Confessor and Knight were pretty close similarity, Confessor being the most popular and the Knight being the second most popular, and they were about off by maybe, I want to say 5% or so. I don't know if they actually gave me the numbers here. No, it's Confessor looked like it was like 1900
Yeah,
and the
18,
Knight was like something like
1900,
17, whatever,
yeah, exactly.
But more importantly, the Legionnaire was more than 50% less than all the other ones.
Yeah.
It looked about a third of the Confessor and maybe 40% of the Knight, which actually makes sense because I played the Legionnaire quite a bit, and it was tough to play.
It was.
Here's the one thing I want to make an observation about, because we also have a really cool piece of data with the abilities used, and I think everybody is obviously, you can take into account the left mouse button attacks is what basic attack is what is used the most, obviously. Now, they didn't really talk about this here. Was, the metrics are, is the key mapping right? Does the key mapping allow for less people to use different abilities? What is the lag or latency, and what does the data tell you? And the first thing that jumped off my mind is Confessor loves to spam the ranged attacks, and almost nothing else.
That was a big piece. I mean, really big piece. I mean,
Yep.
You really look at them and you say, if they have usage numbers of 12,000 for the least used basic attack, the next highest one is right around 5,000. I mean, that's significant.
Well, I mean, like, you can't use the numbers on the left-hand side to kind of tell you anything, because it's the amount of clicks that ability had. So it's within context of how many people actually played that class.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that. So I don't think you can relate them to between classes, but you can relate them within a class itself.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point as well. It would have been interesting to know averages per character as opposed to just totals.
Right.
That would have been something that you can actually compare between classes. But yeah, I mean, basic attack 3 to Hellfire 1 being the next most used Confessor power, you see that part of it's going to be cooldown and mana usage and all that. But those basic attacks, I mean, they are fire and forget. You just
pop them off.
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting stat. Make this chart for the Confessor, but put a third dimension on it. In the Z-axis, put time played. So basically, as you learn the Confessor,
yeah,
abilities ramping up. Like you start using some of your combos better, because you can see here, I'm looking through it right now. All the and he actually mentioned no one was using the combos pretty much, because all the combos down there at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
So the Confessor was just basically used as a turret to, either they did the Hellfire 1 ability and the Zealot Rush and the Flames of Truth. So basically the one-off attacks and then the autos, basically, and that was it. Now the Knight, as you can tell, actually has basic ability and then Shield Lunge, basic attack 2, Onslaught, Chain Attack, and basically the first 6 abilities were, ratio-wise, in the Confessor completely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And what that tells me, as somebody that's studying classes and whatever, the Knight has fantastic utility.
It does. Well, and that's a big thing. And I would also say that when it comes to, I'm thinking just play styles of people who pick the Confessor, they go out there and they're just, as we said earlier, they're firing forgetting on all their basic attacks, and so they don't focus as much on those combos. It might also be related to mana usage and the total pool of mana. But if we look at the Knight, their second most used skill was Shield Lunge. I mean, Knights were, they understood that they had a role, they accepted that role, and they were working on their role within the team, making sure that they're locking players down. The chain attack is the 5th most used skill, making sure that that had a pretty long cooldown. So now you're looking at that's what those knights were really adhering to. And so I'm going to go ahead and throw it out. I think people who played knight had a better control of their class, and that reflects in the skill usage and the more level curve I'd say on their skill usage.
I think it has much to do with the knight is the most iterated on archetype out of all of them because it's the first one, so they've been tweaking it the longest.
Yep.
Now here's what you can take with the Confessor. I'm going to leave the Legionnaire to last because I have some
you have some thoughts. Got some thoughts.
That's not really related to either two. Like for example, the Confessor. Very hard to aim and very hard to land your basic attacks. You're basically spamming them. So that means you can't really use all your sin stacking and consuming abilities very often. So that's why some of them are low end. And using your basic attack so much, you don't need to have your, was it Absolution is your mana regen ability?
Yep. No. Yes, maybe. Fervor, Absolution is one of the two.
Yep. So, and then you have Meteor Purge. That was basically that's the one where you had to charge up and cast. And because we were playing in very tight quarters and we weren't playing in really solid groups, people weren't casting that much because it was a long cast spell. But it looked cool, so people were using it quite a bit. Zealot Rush was easy because people are dodging all the time. But they were only using Hellfire 1. But when you use Hellfire 1, you're probably using Hellfire 2. Probably, it looks like about a third of the time when casting it. So I think a lot of people were practicing actually hitting with the ranged attack, and then if they couldn't hit it, they weren't even worrying about the rest of their abilities. So that's something that they probably have to kind of pay attention to when designing the character. Do they need to have a larger hitbox for the projectile? There are bigger caster speed, that type of thing to actually make it land so you're gain access to the rest of your abilities. Or you're not worried about hitting, you can start now playing around with everything else. But the Knight is probably the best class in the game just because look at all the different utility and what people are using.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I think that's good. Todd mentioned in his post where he said that the Confessor Fireballs were fired a lot. Yeah, but he says that he doesn't give any real actionable data. But I don't think that's true. I think he needs to say that, people probably weren't landing them very much and were just concentrating on I've said that. I'm repeating myself. Okay, let's get
no. I mean, there's a few other things that we can talk about with the Confessor, and I'm looking at these. I'm looking at these stats, and I'm thinking, all the different things that were popping up during pre-alpha. And what I'm seeing is, there were skills that didn't have animations. There were skills, they didn't understand what they did, how they worked, any of that. And when you don't know what's going on and you still want to be useful in a fight, what you're going to do is you're going to, hey, you do what works, and what works. And so I'd say that some of these are simply, as you said earlier, more related to the fact that the archetype was a little bit newer. It didn't have as much polish. Sure. They might have just been testing out skills and how will these skills work. And so those are some of the things that in regards to Confessor, maybe it doesn't exactly work that way, but the fact that it somewhat follows a similar line to the Legionnaire, that's why it kind of makes me wonder, maybe there's a little bit of truth to the Knights actually having not just more utility, but a better understanding of what their utility did, and being able to physically see the results from that.
Right, the chain attack was very visceral. You went out, you pulled somebody close to you, you can land it, and you were looking to do that again because it was fun. You wanted to do it. You loved pulling somebody out of a combat. Whereas the Confessor's fireballs were really cool because you're just shitting out fireballs left and right and burning bitches. So we loved doing that. And maybe all the other things. I remember when I tried the Confessor. I only tried the Confessor once, and with my latency that I was playing with, I couldn't land anything, so I just gave up. There was really no anything with it.
Say that again.
And I knew some of those we're gonna, which is why a lot of it is.
Wait about 5 seconds and then say that all again. Oh man. Apparently, like 30 people just got onto the hotel network right there. Holiday Inn Express. You'll know everything. You just won't be able to tell anyone because of your network issues. There we go. Oh man, yeah, you dropped. Struggling.
It's a struggle. I'm getting a game box.
Yeah, go for it.
What did I say last? That
you're just about to go into the Legionnaire, so
yeah, let's just go into that.
Yep.
Skype is telling me I have lots of red bars, so it's gonna happen. Well, here's the Legionnaire because I played the Legionnaire the most because it was an interesting character tonight. Basic attack 1, 2, and 3 were used quite a bit, and you know what? I haven't played Legionnaire in a couple of weeks, so I need to bring up the what abilities do what because I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean those were those basic attacks, and they'd help you.
So you have the 1, 2, 3 attack.
They'd help you raise your mana, right? Or is that just okay? So they helped you raise your mana as well. So I mean, we're talking utility here.
Yes. So because the latency was so difficult, and the Legionnaire was difficult to control, at least early on, it was very difficult to land those basic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, if I remember correctly, Rallying Cry, Battle Cry, it would give you instantaneous rage or filled up your rage bar. And hopefully, so I'm going to get killed if I can't remember this. And then, or was that Internal Rage? I think it's Internal Rage that did that. See, I have to. I need to look up the thing about my internet in my hotel.
Oh,
it's terrible. My browser isn't working. Do you have a link up for that stuff?
I mean, no, I didn't have the Legionnaire powers. I'm gonna hop over on our friend's website and see if they've got that on their wiki, which I'm sure that they do. Yeah, so here we go. It's right here. There we go. Bada bing. I'm gonna drop this in here.
I found it.
There you go.
I found it, I think.
All right. Yeah. No. We need to get Draegan one of those like Verizon hotspots. Yeah. There we go. So maybe we should monetize and start.
Eternal. Right. It was Eternal Rage that gives you instantaneous rage. So I mean, I think I used that the most, but because it's on a cooldown, I think it was like a 20 to 30 second cooldown. I'm not too sure. It probably it's not used as much.
Yeah, so I mean, Eternal Rage restores 75 rage. I don't see anything for cooldown though. But yeah, so I mean, we can just kind of cover some of the basics on it though.
There we go. I got it. So, okay, I'm sorry, here we go. I got it. I swear. Battle Cry was a rage-free ability. It's like, it debuffed, and you didn't need any rage casts. Eternal Rage gave you rage, Rallying Cry healed everybody, and No Quarter was kind of like a little bit of a snare.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the reason why no one used any of those other abilities. One, it was very difficult for a lot of them to land because your swing animations were slow with all the latency. Two, you couldn't use any of them unless you built up enough rage. So while you're running around trying to swing your basic attack 1 and basic attack 2 and basic attack 3, you couldn't do anything else. So that's the only button available to you other than Battle Cry. And then you use Eternal Rage every time it was the cooldown, but most of the time you were in battle for so long that you had to use it on the heal. So that didn't leave you that much rage to use anything else. And there is my theory of why the Legionnaire looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely difficult, and you know, I saw it with the Knight as well. You know, your basic attacks really aren't that powerful from what I was experiencing, especially not in relation to your actual abilities. But I would find that, you know, in any sort of extended fight, I was running out of mana. And we're talking, you know, these are small engagements too. You know, we're usually three versus three. In larger engagements, you know, hey, not as big of a deal. You're able to swing around and hit people all the time. No big deal. The problem is animation lock, because every time you swing, you're locked.
Right.
That that is just going to be an ongoing issue that, hey, I'm probably going to talk about even later on. A little bit of foreshadowing, but it does. It makes it really difficult to manage your resources when every time you try and use a skill, especially one that regenerates, mana or rage or any of this stuff. Every time you try and use it, the targets go away,
No,
and then you can't use them again. But you just used it. It's just really, it makes it really really challenging.
Now, here's a question for Thomas and sit there and chat. If you just swing in midair, not hit anybody, can you go through the cycle of all 5 basic attacks, 1 through 5, with the Legionnaire? And does that record, or are these button presses basically if it connects with another target? I'm just curious if that's the case. Like, do you have to hit something for it to record in these stats? Because you have basic attack 1, basic attack 2. Basically, every time you want to swing a second time, does that say that you missed, or you just never clicked it again and ran away? See what I'm saying?
So you're asking, are they recording how often it was used, or how often it was
without hitting?
Okay.
But my somewhat building theory was, but it's not a thing, was basically, did they always miss their second attack because it landed almost half the time, or you used it half as much as the basic attack 1? But it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, no, interesting.
It registered anyway, so it's not the case at all. People just weren't attacking as much. But yeah, my whole main issue with Legionnaire was I was not building rage fast enough. And I'm not going to say because of the class. I'm going to say because the connection was awful. I looked like a stiff board out there swinging into.
Yeah, it was rough early on, that's for sure. Well, and that's something that I've found that as the maintenance. Sorry, something apparently really bad just happened.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Valor? Did we lose the stream?
Oh, the cat spilled water all over her laptop.
My laptop is soaked.
Uh-oh. Get the rice bag out.
Rice bag, indeed.
All right. Well, I can't tell if Valor got up or not because I don't have.
No, I'm still here.
Do you want to go handle business?
There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do.
Yes, but women don't like it when you sit there doing nothing while things are breaking. You might just have to console her that her laptop is now dead.
This will be fun. Not that you ever have any problems with this, but why don't you talk for a little bit and I'll be right back.
Okay, you do that. All right, we're going to go through the rest of Thomas's data here, and this is I love data. I love data points here, and there's a lot of latency things that you were just talking about, and I'm not good at all with networking. I just know when stuff is slow, and basically I really can't wait. I really can't wait for the new champion to get that, get my hands on it, and then with the server fixes, see how all this different stuff kind of goes together. Because I'm sure they've done tweaks on animation speeds, velocity speeds on projectiles, and just animation control from all the different characters. And I think, to me, if we can go and look at the knight, and if we can get all the knight's levels, and I'm looking at the data analysis, looking at the knight, how there's a nice even keel with all of his abilities being used. If we can get the Legionnaire to look like that, I think the guys at Ace are going to know that they're on the right track for sure. So I think we've killed the data analysis postpartum, post to death. There's a couple good things that we can kind of take out of that. So let's head over and take a look at the champion powers in UI. And I read through this, and I'm kind of interested in seeing how it actually works out in the game itself, especially with a lot of the improvements, because melee characters are incredibly difficult to play when you have networking issues. I mean, anybody that's played the Blade and Soul alpha weekends or beta weekends, whatever they are, in the last couple of weeks, knows that when you have high ping, it's very difficult to do aiming and turning and properly using your animations to actually play your character very well. So that being said, let's take a look at the champion. Basically, it's a giant melee character with a giant weapon. Think Berserker and Terra, I guess. And their approach is minimum viable powers. Basically, what they're doing, they're building in the archetype to be useful and fun in combat. This means that the current is in its final, and the powers might even jump to other archetypes, etc., etc., etc. So take a look at the picture. Champion has a rage and hatred resource. Rage is basically what the Legionnaire uses. You have to attack stuff to gain rage, and the rage allows you to use your other abilities. Rage decays out of combat, and it gets reduced by a factor of 10 because math. And the champion has a hatred resource. Basically, anytime you deal damage or get damage done to you, you gain your ability, which is your 5 ability, which makes you a berserk and grow and start killing people like crazy. So they wanted to make basically the ultimate warrior. And as you look, you can definitely take a look at the pictures. He just grows in power, swings his deadly sword, and just kills people left and right, left and right. I'd be interested to see how big the champion is compared to the Legionnaire, whether or not compare the two character models and how fast their animations are and how fast they can turn, how fast they can swing comparatively, because they both have essentially two-handed weapons that are much larger. And it'd be interesting to see what their range are as far as their weapons are concerned. The interesting thing, I think, is before we go into the abilities, is in PvP games, especially if you take a look at a lot of MOBAs, especially League of Legends, when they start talking about their bruiser class, basically high-powered melee characters that aren't assassins that can get in and out of things pretty quickly. The problem is surviving and keeping in range to melee. You have to be faster. So, how does the warrior survive? Warrior apparently has, we get some numbers here. Oh, Valerie, you back?
I'm back.
There he is. I started talking about the champion.
Oh, man.
Talking about how the champion's a big giant melee character, and I was just about to say, before we go into the power,
Man,
later on down the post, I'm trying to find it, is survivability for the champion is the biggest thing that we should be concerned about. Can you hear me?
No, not really. You're like
No, can't hear me at all.
roboting.
I wonder if everybody else is like, this sucks. I don't know why I'm listening to Draegan.
Probably.
But,
so champion.
Yes. I was basically saying, well, we can start. Let's not start from the beginning. I basically said, big giant ass dude with big weapon. It's gonna be interesting comparing him to the Legionnaire with two weapons.
Yep.
And speeds and turning and the animation level, blah blah. And I was comparing him with the problem that a lot of melee champions have that are quote unquote bruiser type champions are in League of Legends. They have trouble either keeping in range of more mobile champions or ranged champions and surviving once they get into a big fight.
Yep. Well,
So
that's exactly what I was going to talk about. I mean, that's exactly like my biggest issue with the champion.
Okay. You mentioned that you had a point, so go ahead. You lead it off since people can actually understand you.
Yeah. First point is they didn't add the champion to. Oh yeah, sure enough, there it is. They didn't update the champion's picture on their website. Oh, well, they don't have enough information in here on yet. All right, so my issue with the champion is this, and I'm just going to kind of pick up in a awkward way and just carry it forward. The champion is a big, slow, methodical, juggernaut melee character. The problem that I see with that is animation locking, which I brought up earlier. When you swing so slowly, and you only get, maybe one shot at hitting somebody, and every time you attempt to attack, your character stops, you're going to be useless in any sort of PvP. Because now what you have to rely on is you have to rely on other sorts of Maybe. I mean, I mean, to be able to keep up with a confessor. I mean, well, yeah. Okay. So now you throw in teamwork, and okay. So
Yep,
now
exactly.
you're working with a bunch of other people, and um, what? Oh man, there's a mosquito. I'm sure I'll get the word.
Basically, the way it happened for the Berserker class in Terra. Hopefully, you hear me. Is you had very long wind-up animations, but when you hit somebody, you blew them up with a nuke, essentially, because you knock
Yeah.
down an enemy and then allow you to unload on them. So it's going to be basically the same thing in this game, I would imagine. Like, you're going to need to either get
Yeah.
a knight to go in, or a legionnaire to follow up with an AoE slow, and you can, chain pull your way in there and blow people up.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and do that,
But
and so my whole opinion on the champion is based off of what they've explained currently. I mean, that by all means, I do believe that they're going to have it resolved by then, but what I see currently is yes, you've got your chain pull. Anyone who played Knight knows chain pulls are not a reliable way to make that work. So they're really not a
you pull yourself to
yeah. I mean,
reverse chain pull.
it's a reverse chain pull, and so you're pulling yourself to someone. Any little thing that gets in between you and that, that'll stop it. Where you chain pull to is the location of the person when you activated the chain pull, not the location of the person wherever they are currently. So you'll get there, and that you're there, and now they're not there. I mean, so there's so many different issues that when if you hit someone with that, there needs to be a snare at the end of it. Hey, you hit them when you travel to them, it snares them. These are issues that I'm looking at and saying, okay, how does this guy get into range
Yeah.
and try in some way to stay in range to be able to provide any sort of reliable damage? Because without reliable damage, you're not going to be relied on to provide damage. That will drive
Well,
down their
here's the
use
thing.
in any sort of competitive PvP environment.
You're very right, but here the main issue that I wanted to bring up first is their passive dirty fighting, which generate rate in direct relation to how low is health pool. So the lower your
Yep.
health, the higher your health regen is.
Okay.
And that's it. I have no idea how tanky this character is going to be with the gear and everything else. The survivability of a champion is going to be key, and the uses that we have. So we got to keep that in mind before when we look at some of those things. We have their iframe powers. Basically, they jump up and then they land, and they basically, what do you do when they land? Straight up in the air, he crashes to the ground and knocks with a AoE knockdown in the area of whatever radius, we don't know yet. So that's a little bit of AoE. So next combo win would be their reverse chain pull, and is that actually what we call it? I can't find it
Reverse
on my
chain
screen.
pull.
Yeah.
Well, I
Very
mean,
good,
there's a number of different things they could have called it, but they went with reverse chain pull. Again,
Well,
I really do. I think that the key piece of that whole explanation of what the champion is these are really just skills that they want to test.
Sure.
They're not skills like reverse chain pull.
Right.
Under no circumstances is anyone going to put that as the name of a skill. Whatever that skill is called when the game releases, it won't be reverse chain pull
It
unless
better be reverse
unless
chain pull.
unless
That's
Thomas
the
Blair is
deal.
like, hey, I'm gonna save this video, and when we make this game, we're gonna call it reverse chain pull, and I'm gonna be
Yes,
like,
please.
hey, Valor, who's the moron now? And I'll be like, you, because you called your skill reverse chain pull.
Well, let's talk about a little bit about base. We don't. I don't want to go over the individual abilities because obviously, just looking at the image with all the abilities,
Yeah.
it's not fully fleshed out yet. So let's talk about. We already talked about survivability and how big of an issue is, and to counteract that, you have increased health regeneration. We don't know how beefy that is. That could be little, or it could be like crazy good. We have no idea. We have the awesome ability of the blind effect with the kicksand, which I think is great. There's not enough games out there that completely blank out your screen when you get blinded, and they better not not ever change that. That's
I
my favorite.
we
Um,
talked about the blinding thing, and that was something that I advocated, having a whiteout type effect on your screen, because I your character being blinded to me doesn't feel like anything. It's like, oh, why can't I use skills? And you're sitting there trying to find out why you can't use skills until you finally see
now
those.
you know why you can't use
Yeah, there's
skills.
this little icon right over here down your
I
bottom right
bet you
corner.
can use skills, but you just don't know where you're aiming.
Yeah. So, if this, you can still use your skills. You just have no fucking clue what you're aiming
Can't
at.
see shit.
And I
Can't see
love
shit.
that. I really, really love it. I love the idea of the black screen, the white screen, throw in flashbangs, have some fun with it. Blood splatter, whatever you want to go with. I love it. I think it's a great element of the game. But you didn't want to talk about specific skills, so.
Part of their theory is no, that's an effect because that's going to be on other
True.
artifacts, I would
Yeah.
imagine. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. The champions
Oh, man.
have fast attacking combos, so not very high layered ones, which I think is good because of this champion. The Hurlbat, also a great name, range projectile that you can use when you're moving, and apparently you can slow them with that. So they're going to need some kind of, like I said, you have the chain that brings you, basically it's a charge that you have to connect with, and then you have some ranged attack that slows down people, but you have to hit them multiple times, which is probably going to be very difficult to do, and the Confessor is very good.
Yeah. No, and keeping a flatter combo chain, I think, is a big thing. Is what that allows is you don't have to go through so many skills to get to whatever the ultimate is, or whatever that is. And so it understands that you're not going to have as much time to use and land skills. That if you're trying to use these skills and it's using your rage bar, if you have 4 or 5 skills that you have to animate, and each one uses your rage bar, but because of how slow you are, you're not going to be building rage as much. They've taken that into account.
You're in the middle of AOE though, because you're building. I thought you were talking about hatred because you were talking about the ultimate ability. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, so again, the ultimate ability, later on, but specifically more the where we're at right now, where you're trying to build your rage. It's like, yeah. So that's where I say, what, hey, having 2 or 3 per combo, it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think the champion is basically going to be more of a jousting type of class. Basically, you go in for some big attacks and then you kind of walk out of melee range, so you don't keep getting hit all the time, unless the regeneration is really beefy. You can't deal in the fight a little bit longer. The ultimate, basically, you just grow as a character. Your physical size grows, so you become a bigger target. People can hit you.
Mm-hmm.
And you gain right. I don't think there's any other anything else that you get with it. You just do more damage and you grow bigger. I think what they're going to have to do is, because you want to get hit more and gain more hatred, because you have to go through the 2 different there's 2 other stages of your Ultimate Warrior, that you might have to have some damage mitigation into that, I think. Because if you just become to a giant guy doing lots of damage, people are going to try to kill you as fast as possible. And if you can't survive a couple seconds of targeted attacks, then they might have to do something for you. Much like how they kind of tweak the knight to give you some
I agree. I agree. So you're a bit robotic, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cut in a little bit and reiterate some of what you're saying. Is when the champion goes into his super giant mode and grows to 1.5 times his size, or however big he's going to get, you become this massive target, especially if your damage goes up. And with all of that, you are going to be targeted, easier to hit, and take more damage. And so without being able to mitigate that in any way, it's effectively just putting you
putting a
right.
giant arrow on your head.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to die, and you're going to die before you're really useful with your abilities. And so, I would almost, I would almost say, go the other direction and make you more tanky and lower your damage. But I think what they're going with is they're really going with that frenzy, the skill that we usually see on warriors. That's frenzy, where you deal 2x damage and you take 3x damage. Where you're going to be dealing more damage, but you're also putting yourself at a massive risk. But you're right. I think that might be too much of a risk, because if you're already dealing higher than everyone else damage, why would you ever go super big and probably die?
Especially in a game where there's potential, or there is item loot, and do you want to be just kamikaze and die and then lose all your gear, or lose some of your gear, or whatever it might be?
Throw in the added element of friendly fire. Man, now you're begging to die.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the one thing that I think you might end up seeing with something like this is the build in the mechanic, because we probably don't have the mechanic built into the game yet, is the ability to go into negative health. So, you toggle your ultimate warrior, you can go up to 2-3 times your total health pool, or 50% of your health pool, whatever number you want, throw it out there. Negative. So if you have 100 hit points total, you can go minus 50 hit points.
And then at the end, what happens?
Once it runs out, you get at the end you get stunned, or you get weak, and if you don't go back to plus hit points in 5 seconds, you die. But with your massive regeneration, maybe you get back to 5 hit points or something.
So you have to obviously you have to stop taking damage. That's a big element, and then that's a cool little concept.
Pull yourself out of the floor.
Well, and one of the things that I saw thrown around was kind of a comparison to Tryndamere from League of Legends, and so you're obviously familiar with him, and what it is you become this beast, and you can now put all this damage, and you will not really die.
You can't die.
But as soon as that ends, man, are you in a tough spot? So that's where I say, what, I can see where they're going with it. I'm just concerned about the danger, the risk outweighing the reward. And that's PvP right there in a nutshell. So if it's not something they haven't addressed, then we've probably got other things we should start worrying about.
Yeah, you could just read the last couple lines when they talk about the strength of the mountain, which is basically I go invulnerable for X amount of seconds, no one can touch me, but you're rooted, and gives you time to regenerate health. And it says you should receive a quick burst of healing and potentially a huge damage buff when he comes out of the form. So essentially, because he wrote quick burst, they mean that the regeneration should be very, very high at that point. So I'm interested to see what the numbers are. And it's kind of funny, when the Legionnaire and the Confessor pages all came out, we sat there and went over every single one of their abilities with tooth and comb. I don't even want to do that anymore. I want to see them in the game. We got to the point where we got to play them all. I want to actually see how it works and play against them instead of kind of doing some guesswork. But I think we kind of hit it pretty good. Well, we'll have to see what their survivability is, what the damage is, and whether or not you can stay in a fight. Because I know the Legionnaire is tough to stay in the fight.
Blickstev just threw this out there. He said, do the Strength of the Mountain and then Ultimate Warrior 3. I guess Strength of the Mountain really flips things around, and we don't know how long each of these skills are going to last. But if you turn into this Super Hulk for 3 seconds. You get 3 seconds increased damage. Yeah, you're a bigger target, but who cares? It's only 3 seconds. You drop down, you can go invincible or invulnerable. I believe Strength of the Mountain's invincible.
It does says
significantly reduced damage, right?
Yeah, so you're going to take a little bit. So you're gaining hatred.
Yeah. gaining hatred, and they mentioned there's going to be some sort of health regen just because of, I guess, your natural
Your
regen.
passing is still ticking.
Yeah. So
I mean, if you straight to the mountain at full health, you're close to full health. You're not gonna get as much as when you're low. It's like a Zanya's.
Can you cancel? Are you able to cancel your large person skill? I can't. Probably should have pulled
Strength
that
of
up
the
to be.
mountain?
Well, no, strength of the mountains.
Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior.
Your Ultimate Warrior.
Ooh.
Ultimate Warrior has 3 stages to it, so I'm assuming you can let stage 1 go away.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to activate stage 2 or stage 3.
So there's a stacking damage buff. I mean, yeah. I mean, the more they hit you in Strength of Warrior, the stronger you're going to get. Can you cancel out of all of these skills, or are you stuck with them for the duration?
So basically, you can chain yourself in, do your little a whirlwind attack that you have on Strength of the Mountain, get some damage debuff, and then go into your Ultimate Warrior, kill people, and then run away before you die.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Oh, you don't have cancel tech yet, so no, you can't cancel. Maybe one day. Maybe when we get totally around to doing it.
No canceling tech. Do you have to
Yeah.
buy a new router? I mean, come on.
If you go to the
Just
DVD store,
sit your code monkeys down and get them to work.
I think Tully's the only code monkey.
Oh man, just put Todd
in there.
Put Todd in the costume. Have him crouch on their desk, pointing at the screen.
Go.
Tell him he's going to do that every day until they get that canceling tech.
All right, I think we came to the end of the show. I think it's a good time to end here.
Yeah.
I think we hit everything. Hopefully we get some good updates. We'll do another show next week. I think we're gonna. I think in the coming weeks we should do a big giant what if show for the next play cycle. Once we get some better ideas of what they're gonna put out, because I know they're talking about textures with a lot of stuff, which is gonna be really cool. And maybe next week we could do. We could talk about how people. There was that post about how the misconceptions of watching people play the game, where they thought the gray boxing was all their winter textures, and how silly all that type of stuff is. But follow us all on all the social medias that we have down there below. We will be keeping you up to date for next week as far as if we can do a show or not. If not, it might be a Valor one-man show.
I've got a couple of ideas. I'm going to throw them at some folks and see what we can do.
I think worst case scenario, it'll be Valor and then me over the phone. I can easily do that. No problem. For about a half hour to an hour. I don't know if anybody wants that, but we can do that. I don't think anybody needs to see my face.
Nobody has to see your face to hate you.
No. So that being said, I think let's end it here.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week. I don't have time to do an after show unless you want to hang out.
I've got to go. I've got to go fix the laptop. So
yes, we don't need an after show because I need to start getting ready for tomorrow. And everybody, we appreciate you watching. Next week, 8:30 Eastern, Tuesday night. We should have something going, regardless of what it is. And that's basically it. Have a great night, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.